have you ever looked at a map before? Now, some people would say, well, yeah, today's world, I got to be careful. I don't know. We have a lot of technology in today's world. So a lot of times if people want to go someplace, they just have their phone tell them where to go, or their car tell them where to go. And I'll just drive until the car tells me to turn left, and then I'll turn left. And but maps still are useful, and they're still needed. So when you look at maps, I even think on some of the apps that you can use on a phone or even on a car nowadays, when you have navigation in cars, you still see a map. And so the maps are still there. And if you're saying, yeah, in my car, when we go someplace, I can see exactly where we are in the map, right? And depending how much you scan back, you might see a bigger area. So what I want to talk to you quick about here is one of the skills you need to have is if you ever have a physical map that you're looking at, the thing that for distance-wise, to know how far it is between one area to another area, there is something called a map scale. So on a map, and I see these even on technology maps. So if I get online and I want to see the distance between places, it still has a map scale. So the map scale is going to help you find the real distance from one place to another. Now, how do you use it? It would be the question. If you're looking at a physical map and you have it in front of you, a lot of times what will happen, and this could even be on a screen, the map scale will have a certain distance, and it'll say this line represents 25 miles. And so what you could do then, using a map scale, is you could take anything. It could be a ruler, it could be a piece of paper, it could be a pen or a pencil, and you mark off, you kind of like make a mark, or if it's a pencil or a pen, sometimes you can just hold it exactly with, okay, that much on this map, that much right there is 25 miles. And then what you could do is say, okay, so we're going from my town to New York City. So how far is that going to be on the road that you're going to take? And you could literally space it out and know exactly how many miles that's going to be. That's a map scale. So a lot of times people will use map scales. It may not be for a really, really long trip. In today's world, if I'm taking a really long trip that's going to be 1,000 miles, then I'm probably going to go on the computer or my phone or navigation in my car, and it's just going to tell me how many miles it is. A lot of times it's smaller distances. So if I want to get from my town in Ohio to another town or another part of Ohio, okay, exactly how far is that? And if I'm looking at a map of Ohio and it's got a map scale right there, I can do it really quick. Like, okay, so I'm going from here to here. So I do the map scale, I get the distance, and I go 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so it's 100 miles away. Okay, and I get an idea. So that's what a map scale is for. It tells you kind of the direction and where you're going. Now, direction on a map is near the map scale. There should be what is called a compass. And the compass is north, south, east, west. So if you're looking at a map and you're not quite sure if you're going north or south or which direction do I need to go, it'll tell you that near the map scale too. So, but the purpose of the map scale is to really find the distance that you're going to need to take. When I was a little kid, before GPS was a thing, before navigation in cars were a thing, the person who sat in the passenger seat of the car was called the navigator. That you didn't necessarily have to call them that, but that's the person that had the map. And so I remember hearing, if we were going someplace, my dad say to my mom, okay, so what's the next town? And she would say the name of the town. He'd say, how far is that? And she would do exactly what I just said. She would even take her finger sometimes and say, okay, 1, 2, 3. It's about 70 miles. And he'd say, okay, 70 miles, all right. And so that's really, when you think of the way GPS does it, and you think of how does the navigation in the car know? So there, in a sense, it's using a map scale. So the next time you see a map, and I always say, try to get your hands on a physical map, or get one on the computer, or on a phone, or something like that. But the next time that you see a map and you're going someplace, look for the map scale. Because even if you're in the car and you're looking at the screen, the map scale will still kind of tell you how far it is. Maybe you see on the navigation in the car, maybe you see that there's a restaurant down the road, down the highway. There's a restaurant coming up, or an area with restaurants. And that map scale can help you find the distance. How far really is that before we get to the restaurants? That's where the map scale can come in. So that's a skill that's still needed in today's world, because the last thing you want is to just rely on computer voices telling you where to go left and right, and before you know it, you don't know where you are. So it's always good to still know how to use maps and how to use a map scale to find the distance from one point to another. We'll see you next time.